flour. I have some extra in case I have to add some while I'm mixing. The water, JL mentioned, I think about 100 to 105 degrees. I used a digital thermometer to make sure that that was the temperature we had. That's important because when I put in my yeast, we want it to bloom. And I'm going to add in some sugar to help that yeast give it something to feed on, give it something to eat. I'm going to do that. I am going to stir this up real quick, just a little bit to mix it all up. Now, the reason that 105 degrees is important, anything above that, you'll probably kill the yeast, and then you won't get any rise. Anything below 95 to 100, it's not going to be enough to activate it, and then you won't get a rise. So literally around 100, 105, kind of important.
Can I jump in?
Yes.
People are seriously questioning your desire to have the oven at 500. So first, we should admit that we have ours at 550. So why do you want them to heat it to 500? The key, you do want that crust, and this is, I mean, it could be personal preference here. I kind of like to get my pizza crust as crunchy on the bottom as possible because it mimics that Detroit style that I like. You can have it at 450, at 400, and you'll just have more of a golden crust perhaps on the bottom. It's personal choice. It really doesn't, it's not going to hurt my feelings one bit. But do think about when you go to a restaurant and you see those wood burning stoves, think about how hot you think it is when it's in there. But it is a personal choice if you're not feeling comfortable going up to 500. But
don't. It'll increase your cook time a little bit potentially. To JL's point, a lot of those wood-fired pizzas, when you're getting them, those are 600 to 700 degrees. Now, granted, it's made out of stone, but we're going to we're at 550 right now. So that way, in around 15 minutes, this pizza will be done. If I've done it lower, and it takes a little bit longer, but it's not a big deal. It's totally up to you. And I am seeing activity here. I don't know if you can see, we got some amazing frothiness going on the yeast. So that's great. Into my flour, I'm going to put in the salt, 1 tablespoon. That was 1 package of yeast, 2 tablespoons of sugar. And I'm just going to put the oil right into the water mixture with the yeast. It's not a big deal. You can put it into the flour. It really doesn't matter. I am going to grab a small whisk, mix up the salt just a little bit into the dough, into the flour. And then in goes my water, yeast, oil mixture. There's that. Excuse me. I'm going to do a quick stir just to kind of get things incorporated a little bit. Not too much, but just enough. Okay, so it's kind of a gooey mess, and that's fine. I'm now going to take this. I'm going to put this over here into the stand mixer, and I'm going to let it go for about 2 minutes. Now, this is where it's going to be a little interesting. I don't know, Jael, if you want to turn that or not while I'm doing this. I'm going to look for consistency. Now, when I'm done with the mixing, the consistency we're looking for, it's sticky but manageable, if that makes sense. It can be a hot mess, but with a little bit of flour, it can't be too dry, it can't be too wet. It's sticky, but it's manageable. And I can usually tell when I'm pulling it out of the bowl that it's sticking just enough that it's not coming out too easy, but it's not giving me a big hassle coming out. So I'm gonna go get this on the stand mixer.
And also, I wasn't paying attention because I'm trying to stay in charge of technology. But if Dave mentioned that you don't need a stand mixer to do this, you can obviously just do it in a bowl with a spoon. But if you have a stand mixer, this is a great way to not only mix it, but then it's going to be doing the kneading process for you. So instead of kneading it for 5, 7, 10 minutes, the stand mixer is going to do that for you. The reason it's over there is so that you don't have to hear it really loud in your ears. But you can continue talking, Dave.
Yep.
Can you hear Dave talking while he's over there?
Gonna go about medium speed, and I need more water. There we go.
So Dave, someone asked if you're using the dough paddle, and you're not. You just went right to the hook.
I'm using the dough hook. I think that's usually almost always what I use.
And someone just said, how do you know you need more water?
So I want it to be, great question. I want it to be pulling away from the sides of the bowl. If I see a lot of dough sticking, I add a little flour. If I see it all completely pulled away too quickly, I add a little more water because again, I do want it tacky when I'm done.
And he's going to show it to you when it's done so you can see the texture, because this is the part, we have people from all over the country logged in right now. Some of you live at sea level like Michael and Ethan. Some of you are living at 6,000 feet like we do. And so we give you the base ingredients, which someone did share. And then you will need to start adding flour and then sometimes water until you get that sweet spot. Those of us who live at altitude have known this for a long time, that we have to do that. So that's where it gets less exact. So start with the basic recipe and then start to play around with the texture. But Dave's going to show you exactly what it looks like when it's hit the sweet spot. And so he'll bring it up to the camera so you can kind of see when his fingers touch it, because then that's going to help you take what you're seeing and then apply it to what you're doing at home. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think this is probably pretty good. Yeah. All right.
For those of you asking, I'm going to quit answering a lot of questions here and just answer them. I'm realizing, why am I not just telling you here? So some people have been asking us about gluten-free options. Honestly, we've never made a gluten-free pizza in our house, so I'm sorry, we can't speak to that. If there's anybody who is gluten-free, who is using a different kind of flour, if you mention it in the chat, I'll be sure to share it with everyone else. So go ahead and show everybody.
So I took the dough hook off the mixer, and this is kind of what I'm looking for. And this is a great example. It's sticking to the hook, but I can pull it off pretty easily without getting my hands too gooped up. So it's sticky enough that it's going to stick to this.
So it's tacky.
It's tacky, but I can manipulate it. And yeah, I'm gonna have disgusting hands in just a second. But and there's still some stuck on the bottom of the bowl that I'm gonna scrape off. Okay, you can kind of see what's going on there. So it's got some tackiness. It's not too dry. It's not too wet. Now.
Someone wants you to, sorry,
yeah.
Dave, someone wants you to explain the yeast and the water again.
Oh, sure. So the water needs to be between 100 and 105 degrees. You're going to put the yeast into the water to let it bloom. If it's too hot, usually 105 degrees Fahrenheit is about the limit. If it's too hot, you'll kill the yeast and then you won't get a rise. If it's not hot enough, like if it's below 95 to 100,
yeah,
you probably, you won't get the yeast to activate. And that's why we put the sugar in the water, so that the yeast has something to feed on. And that's, so that combination of things, that's where kind of the science and the chemical reactions come into play with yeast. But that's why we have that water temperature, and we let that sit for just a few minutes before we mix everything up.
So lots of people keep asking about the recipe, and someone posted it. So if you can scroll back into the chat, and we also have it listed on everywhere, but it was 3/4 cup warm water with 2 tablespoons sugar.
Yep.
And then the packet. And also, if you don't have a digital read thermometer in your kitchen, it's really handy to have, because then you can just put that right into your warm water, and you can check it out. The book that I have coming out soon is a baking book, and I killed a lot of yeast when I was recipe developing, just from being like 110 or 112 degrees. So precision it's really helpful to have something like this, and they don't cost very much. Even though they call them a meat thermometer when you go to the store, just ignore that part. Just call it in your own heart and head. It's a digital read thermometer. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
So you can see this is really sticky in the bowl, and that's exactly what we're looking for. You can get that out. It's not so sticky that I can't, again, manipulate it. So I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to put a little flour down onto the board. You could also use cornmeal if you want. That's going to give it a little more crunchiness, but I'm going to use a little bit of flour here so that I can manipulate this a little bit. Get this out. Perfect. And I'm just going to roll it a little bit into, just kind of keep turning it back on itself. It doesn't take much flour to make this really easy to handle.
And Jill saying she's kneading by hand.
Okay.
Go Jill. It feels a little dry. Should she add more water? Because it's not sticky.
Yes.
There you go, Jill. And actually, while Dave is doing that, I want to show you something else. So if some of you have food processors that have this plastic dough blender, you could put all the ingredients that Dave put into the stand mixer in here. This is the Ninja, and it has a dough function, and I just hit dough. It mixes everything, and then when I take it out, I only have to knead it by hand for 2 minutes on the board. So that's just an FYI too.
So I took very little flour, made this very easy to handle. I've been turning it back on itself. I've got this nice little ball of dough. I took a little extra oil into this bowl here. I'm going to coat it both sides, just kind of turn it around a few times. And that's it.
So show everybody, like we're close again, just so you can see the texture. So you can see how nice and smooth it became after he did that finishing
just
touch.
A little bit of dough. I mean, like a pinch of dough, and it was super easy to handle. It's no longer sticky and tacky. I rolled it in maybe a tablespoon of olive oil so that it won't stick to this bowl. I'm going to cover this with plastic, and then it's got to rise. Now, ideally, thank you. There's some recipes that say this can sit in a fridge overnight and rise and proof. It can. I'm not that patient.
Oh,
so
they want to see the bottom of the ball. I'm not sure what that means, but.
So it's not perfect. It looks really great on top. I was just turning it into itself a little bit. It's not going to be pretty on the bottom. It doesn't matter.
And that kind of makes, because since it looks like bread dough, someone, Kellen, our friend here in Colorado Springs, asked if we've ever used sourdough starter in our dough. We have, and I think it worked out just the same. I think it changes the water, and so instead of yeast, we're using the sourdough starter.
And we had to play, I think, with the dry wet mixture a little bit. But so this now needs to rise. This needs to just about double in size. Now, most recipes will say leave it at room temperature. Well, my room temperature here in Colorado today is not as warm as someone in Florida. So there's a way to kind of cheat the system here. In our microwave, I have dough that I made this morning that you can see has doubled in size in just about an hour and a half. What did I do to make that magic happen? I put a measuring cup of really hot water in there with it and raised the temperature of the microwave. So
that's a tip we've been using for a while because it's really cold here in the winter, and when we're making bread, we were having a hard time until we got a bread proofer. Which, by the way, if you have a proofer, you can also put it in a proofer, or if you have a proofing function on your oven, you can also proof in your oven as well.
So that's a great way to, within an hour, you can have dough that's risen. You can punch it down, and then I'll show you what we're going to do with that.
Judy asked if we've ever made this oil-free. I don't think we have. No,
I haven't. I don't see why you couldn't. Maybe use a glass. Well, I don't know. Maybe the only risk could be it would stick to the bowl when it rises.
You could maybe flour a bowl, or use the kind of bowl that won't stick as much.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to assemble this pizza. Now, what I also had, again, the magic of television here, was some dough that I had made a few days ago, and we portioned it out into 2 portions. This is the second portion. I froze this, took it out yesterday, let it thaw, and then I just let it kind of re-proof and re-rise, and it almost doubled in size again when I was done.
Someone's asking if, in addition to the oil that you put in the bowl just so it doesn't stick, did you use oil in the recipe? Was it 2 tablespoons?
Yes, there is oil in the dough recipe. It is 2 tablespoons, yes. So, as I mentioned before, the pan, this is just a straight old lasagna pan. Again, a cake pan would work. The darker, the better, because the darker the color, you might get a little more char on the bottom.
I'm jumping in with questions people have. So
yes.
Christine said, did you let the dough rise before you froze it? So yes, it goes, it does the first rise, then you can separate it out into 1, 2, or 3 rolls of dough, roll, fold them in or form them into a ball and then freeze that.
Totally. And that's exactly what we did. We went through that rise process that I just showed you. And then when I punched it down, cut it in half. That's way too much oil.
Here, you can pour some in the sink.
Yep. And then.
See, even we said it's way too much oil. What do you think of that?
So, yeah. And then I just put it in a baggie and froze it. And that was that. So what I did there is I just took some olive oil. You don't have to use oil if you don't want. You could. This would be a great option if you don't want to use oil. You could put some cornmeal on the bottom of this, and that would give it a nice crispness.
Ooh, that would be nice. Someone wants to know if they can use a glass Pyrex pan.
You could, but the darker the color is really, as I understand it, is where you're going to get the more crisped, almost burnt like crust. You probably could.
Maybe you should jump in and tell them what the secret ingredient is to make it Detroit style, so they'll understand the importance of it.
So as I said before, the Detroit style, they actually, you go online, if you search Detroit style pizza pans, you can buy them online. It's an angled side, and you'll see why that's kind of important in a minute. But the key thing here is being able to get cheese up level with the dough so that you get a little burn around the edge. And this oil on the bottom is also going to almost fry the dough to really give it a good crispness. And again, almost burn it. Oh, hi, Linda. How you doing? So that's a lot of pizzas, have that golden brown crust. We want a really dark brown crust on the bottom is what we're really looking for here. So I got oil in here. I'm going to take this dough that has been resurrected. I'm going to work it just a little bit on that lightly floured surface just to make it easy to handle. Okay. Try not to work it too much. Don't let it get too thin in the middle. That always drives me bonkers when I overwork this and stretch it too much.
He cusses.
I do.
Just saying,
it's
I can
terrible.
hear it from upstairs.
Yeah, it's bad. So work it just a little. Get it into the pan.
And you guys, we understand, again, we're doing this from home. Actually, we can move this. So we'll keep bringing the pan up to the camera, but you can see what he's doing in the lasagna pan right now. But we'll bring it closer, especially when we're adding the vegan cheese. So those of you who are joining late, and if you didn't mean to accidentally get into a vegan online cooking class, what? Hi. But anyway, so whenever we say cheese or meat or anything like that, it's all vegan here. So no animals harmed. So just so you know, when he's about to use some vegan cheese.
Yep. So I'm trying not to handle this too much. You can kind of see I'm trying to work this into the corners as much as I can. It's kind of a fine line of too thin in the middle. You don't want that to get too soggy. So it takes a little bit of playing around. It's still a little cool.
So Christine's asking, you don't roll out the dough. It looks just like you form by hand.
That's right.
Always. We never use a rolling pin for pizza.
Nope. I try to avoid that just from overhandling. And bingo. Almost. Bingo.
Oh, hi, Curtis and Cynthia. They want to know how long we heated the water in the microwave. Oh, you know what? He didn't even heat the water. He actually just got hot tap water and just put it in the microwave and just closed it so that it would keep the heat inside.
Okay. So there we go. So I've got my dough just flat, not working up the edges because there's going to be a little thing with a little magic with the cheese here. So just get it flat, nice and even. Perfect.
Michael wants to know if after the hour of rising, if you punch the dough down or if you just so you punch it down.
Sorry, you pull it out when it's doubled in size, punch it down, kind of roll it again, and then you can portion it and store or use or whatever you want to do.
And by the end of the class, if we have warm water in there, we might be able to show you with the one that Dave made.
I took it out, but I'll put some in. All right, so here's the other trick with Detroit pizza. This is where it's that combination of Chicago style, Sicilian style. I'm not going to put the cheese down first. I'm going to put some ingredients down first and then put the cheese on. So we're just going to go straight veggie here. I've got a bunch of mushrooms. I bought a package.
Save us piece for mine. Sure. I'm making a tiny little pizza.
So, gonna put some mushrooms down. Done and done.
And then maybe between each thing you do, just show.
Yeah.
He loves it when I tell him what to do.
I do so much. It just makes me so happy.
Yes.
All right, so here's your mushrooms.
Thank you.
All right, so just some mushrooms, right? I've got black olives, which are JL's favorite. Do you want one?
Yeah, usually I take them whole and I put them on my fingers and I go, and I'm not even embarrassed. I love it.
It embarrasses me, but that's why she does it.
Whatever.
So, okay.
Someone wants to know if they can use a pizza stone circle. Wait, I'm trying to share. Can we use a pizza stone circle that one uses to cook a pizza in the oven? Best to go in a lasagna. Oh, yeah. So this dough, first off, this is what you need to know. This dough is the pizza dough recipe. You can use it for any kind of pizza you want to do.
Totally.
We're going Detroit style now, what Dave is doing, but when he's done, I'm going to make an individual pizza on just a regular pizza pan. So good question. Yeah, you can do this any way you want. You do not have to be doing this in a pan right now.
This pizza dough is universal. You do what you want to do. I use this same pizza dough recipe on a pizza stone when I'm not doing this. So here's kind of the trick now. So cheese, ideally, so I've got a mixture here. I've got some Miyoko's mozzarella. You could use Felly or Hart. You could use Violife. It doesn't make a difference. I have a mixture of cubed Miyoko's. Cubed is important, and you'll see why in a second. I've got a mixture of the cubed Miyoko's here, and then some shredded Felly or Hart underneath. The cubed is important because it's going to let me get that cheese up around the edge and on top of the edge of the crust. This isn't going to be a traditional pizza where you've got this lip of crust around. It's going to be cheese and everything all the way out to the edge. So I'm going to take this cheese. I'll show you when I'm done. Going to get it in here.
And also just a reminder that after Dave gets this in the oven, we're going to show you some other alternatives to cheese if you're wanting to not use a vegan cheese,
right?
Or if you're not wanting to use a store-bought. So we had mentioned in the class description that we both have kind of different preferences when it comes to our pizza style. So we'll continue to talk about that. So Dave's going to keep making the Detroit style, and then we'll talk about other ways to do your pizza.
Okay. So. Excellent. Don't even have to mess around too much. So you can see what I did here. I hope I've got the cheese spread out all the way to the edge. I want it to burn. I want it to get brown around the edge of this thing and kind of be an extension of the crust. That's what I'm looking for. So normally I spend a little bit of time and I kind of push a little extra cheese up to the edge, all right, to make sure that I've got it all the way out there. I want that, and it's funny, I normally don't like burnt foods. JL loves burnt toast. I hate burnt toast. I want some burnt cheese when I'm done. Now, do you want jalapeno?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. These are hot.
Can I handle it?
No, you can't.
Oh my God.
So little jalapeno.
It might be true. Whatever.
It's probably very possible. Not much. Okay, done. Now, here's the trick with the sauce. This is a Detroit thing, I think.
Ooh, do you have the jar?
No. So it's in the fridge. So you don't
totally gonna go through the trash.
You don't slather sauce on all over the place. You do it in 3 rows, and I'll show you what I mean in a second.
This is the sauce we're using because Michael Suchman told us that that's what we have to use, and it's delicious.
You can use any sauce. You can make homemade. You can use store-bought. That's obviously store-bought. I did doctor it up a little bit. I threw in some extra basil, some extra oregano, a little extra rosemary. Not too much, but 3 rows. 3 rows of sauce. It's just all of it's gonna melt together and become delicious. All right, it's gonna go in the oven. Again, your temperature, dealer's choice. I'm going super hot. I want things to burn and really bubble up and crisp up.
And I wanted it to be done before the class.
Well, there's that too. All right.
Okay. So, Dave, there were a couple questions before I start talking. Someone wanted to know, review the process once you take the dough out of the freezer. So people are making dough right now and they're making enough dough for 2 pizzas. So they're going to set one into the freezer. What happens when it's time to use it?
Okay. So knowing that we were going to do this cooking class today, I took the dough out of the freezer yesterday morning and put it in the refrigerator. I let it sit all day long. And by the end of the day, actually by this morning, it was pliable, but it was cold. And so then I pulled it out of the bag that it was in, and it was a sticky hot mess. So I had to, it was very tacky. A little bit of flour. I got it. I know what time it is. A little bit of flour, get it into a handleable ball again. And then just put it in another small bowl and let it sit in the microwave for maybe half hour, just to make it warm enough that it was pliable. No, it wasn't as pliable as I would like. And you can kind of tell when it's not, when you kind of push the dough and it bounces back, it's not ready to be handled yet. Give it 10 more minutes. Usually when dough's warm enough to be handled, you push it into place and it stops. It doesn't move back. But the magic of television here, we didn't have all that kind of time. So
I like that he thinks that we're on TV.
We're totally on TV. We're so on TV.
So someone asked a good question. They wanted to know if you used all of the dough for that pizza pan, but it's only half of the recipe.
That's correct. That's what I portioned out the other day. That was half of the entire recipe that we made. So you essentially have 2 full-size pizzas, or what I'll show you in a second, 3 personal-size pizzas.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you want me to do that right now?
Yeah, and I'm gonna kind of jump in here for a minute, and I'm gonna move this a little bit because I feel like it's like way too. Okay, so hi. So we know that people eat a lot of different ways, and so whenever you're coming into a class with me, you need to know it's all vegan, baby, and that's basically what matters to us. But we do know that a lot of people have different approaches to the kinds of foods that they want to eat within vegan foods. So, plant-based, whole foods, etc. So we wanted to give you a variety of ways that you could consider making your pizzas. And so as I joke around, Dave is like all the vegan meat, all the vegan cheese, all the vegan thyme. And that's awesome. I like it too, because if he's going to make me pizza every Saturday night, I'll eat whatever he wants. In fact, I believe he has a mac and cheese pizza on deck in the next week or 2. So I'm a little bit more in between. I'm all about the vegan cheese. I'm all about the vegan meat, but I like to make my own. So I wanted to show you, will you give me that cookbook, please? This is not my cookbook at all. It's Sky Michael's. The Non-Dairy Evolution cookbook is absolutely amazing, but you need to know right now so you don't yell at me later. This isn't like a Whole Foods kind of thing, because there's coconut oil coming out of my ears after I make this. So let's just be clear, manage expectations. But having said that, it makes really, oh, and Dave, if you wouldn't mind answering questions while is that Lilla, Conscious Living? Hi, Lilla. So I made some cheese yesterday. And so this is a provolone cheese. That spot is actually miso because I'm really lazy and I didn't want to melt the miso. So I made it. This recipe is in Sky's book. And I make homemade soy milk in a soy milk maker. And then I use some coconut oil, tapioca flour, and other things from the recipe. So I just wanted to show you that, you can do your own cheese. So what I'm going to do, you can actually answer the question and I know, but then everyone will know.
So from a store-bought dough standpoint, the King Soopers, the Kroger version of grocery stores here, the King Soopers version is great. The ingredients are pretty much just what we use today. There's not a bunch of crap added.
Do you want to some of this?
No. And it's I would say the same principle. You need to let it come to room temperature. At least it needs to really warm up to be handleable. And I kind of do the same trick I just did here. I put it in a bowl, I put it in with some warm water, and just let it almost proof again. But the King Soopers version is fantastic. And the name of the book,
it's again, also Kroger, Simple Truth.
Yeah. Someone says, name of the book is the Non-Dairy Evolution Cookbook.
It's awesome. So look at how this cheese grates up. This is homemade. I just made this yesterday. Isn't this awesome? Okay, so I'm going to use some of this. And I'm just going to eat this cheese off my fingers because we're not in a real cooking class and I can do that. Okay. Then I use, this is homemade seitan. So and actually Dave made it. It's my recipe from, I think, the Vegan Pressure Cooking book. And Dave made it last week. And so I ground up some, poured a little of the broth in it, and I just freeze it in this mason jar. And so I am doing a meat and cheese pizza too. Can I have a spoon, dear? Thank you, because I just want you to see the texture of this. So this is homemade seitan. So it's still vegan meat, still vegan cheese, but it's homemade vegan cheese and it's homemade vegan meat. So that's some of the good stuff I'm about to put on this pizza. But I decided to do something. So there might be some people here who actually also teach vegan or teach cooking classes. I always do something that you're never supposed to do. And that is just make things up live while we're doing it. So I had this idea this week to try a homemade pizza sauce. I use that loosely, so don't tell your Italian grandmother because it's not going to be totally legit. And what I was thinking was, I know some people want to go sort of a more wholesome approach. I'm not saying Whole Foods because it's not Whole Foods. We have our, but wholesome. So I thought, why not throw some tomatoes in a blender? So I'm going to use my Vitamix, and I'm just going to throw 3 whole tomatoes in here. And then I thought, what if we use tofu? And by the way, some people say tofu isn't Whole Foods. That's silliness. Tofu is made from homemade soy milk that is then coagulated with seaweed. And then it's formed into a block and it's put into a package. It's a whole food. So I'm going to use a silken soft. So this is a shelf stable. I don't know if you've seen this before. The brand is Mori New, and often you can find it in the international aisle of a grocery store, or you could go to an Asian Pacific market and get it as well. And why I like having the shelf stable tofu is, one, I can have this around forever. And how many of us are cooking out of our pantry right now because we don't want to go to the grocery store? We are. So this is a great way to have tofu on hand. But I really like the silken soft when I'm trying to make something saucy. So what I thought is, why don't we try a little silken soft tofu with some tomatoes, and then we'll just start putting things like garlic and spices in it, and that will become the sauce. So if you don't want to put vegan cheese or vegan meat on your pizza, you could make a tofu tomato sauce, and then you're getting a protein and you're getting the sauce. If you don't want to use tofu, use chickpeas. It might be a little bit more dense with the chickpeas, and so you might want to add a little water or a little veggie broth to thin it out. But I'm just going to kind of make this up and see what the texture is. So maybe while I'm starting to do that, do you want to get the dough ready? We're going to make me a little individual pizza.
Yeah, couple good questions.
Oh, good.
One, can you use a cast iron skillet? Yes. We were just talking about that yesterday, and we are going to make that happen. That seems like an amazing way to make a pizza with a great char on the bottom.
Well, and I've done that with soca pizza, when you do the chickpea flour with water. So I'm going to put this whole block of we'll see what happens. I don't know. Okay. So the other things I'm going to put in, I'm just going to put a little coarse salt in. I might actually do a pinch of sugar too. Do we still have some sugar out?
No.
Okay. And then if there are, thank you. I'm just going to, yes, it's jarred garlic. Do not even judge me. I use so much garlic and life is short, and I'm not going to spend my life pressing it. Okay. I think I want 2 pinches. Okay. So again, I'm just like making this up. So I want to get this out of the way while you're doing the little, so this is this the full?
Yeah.
So this is the full recipe that you have, you guys.
This was made this morning.
And so you're going to do a third of that for my individual pizza, right?
Yep.
I'm going to put basil, parsley, oregano, red pepper flake, and black pepper in this. You guys, if it works and it tastes good, then I'll make sure to have the recipe up on my website. And just so you know, we'll put a link to this video with all of these recipes. Yeah. On 𝐨𝐷𝐿GoesVegan.com, which is my website. And then you'll be able to see the video again. You'll have all the recipes and the things that we're talking about. And we'll review the chat to make sure we hit some things too. So I'm doing basil, parsley, oregano, and oh, maybe you can show them how you're going to prep it for freezing too, Dave.
Sure.
Well, that might be helpful, right?
Yeah.
And then we're going to have some, thank you, Kelly, for letting them know about the tofu. Little red pepper flakes. Did I do oregano? I think I did. Little black pepper.
Welly.
Oh, nice. Did you see that? Look. So I haven't decided what I'm going to put on it yet. So, okay, I'm going to just quickly start blending this and see what happens. Wish me luck. Dave, if you want to answer any questions that are coming.
Sure. Okay, yeah, Leslie's saying we use cast iron all the time. Yeah, I think it's not going to be square. Actually, they do make some square cast iron skillets, so that's all good. Question on flour. We're using regular AP flour. One moment. There we go. Yeah, we're using regular all-purpose flour. If you did want to get fancy and use that 00 flour with the higher protein, cool. But this is just straight up King Arthur brand store-bought stuff.
How's it doing in there?
It's got a little ways to go.
Guys, this is freaking delicious. It looks weird as hell. It's very creamy. It's really good. I didn't measure a darn thing. I want to say I'm sorry. But I know that there were 3 tomatoes and there was definitely a block of the silken tofu. And I did parsley, basil, oregano, red pepper flakes, and salt. But because it's a little thin, I'm actually not going to put it on the bottom. I'm going to start with this. This is provolone. The pizza that I made yesterday from Sky's book is provolone pizza. And I'm going to put that on the bottom. And then I'm going to pretend like I'm doing Detroit style like Dave's. And then I think what I'm going to do is do some thin strips of this provolone too. And I'm just going to kind of place it around the sides for fun. Why not? And I'm doing this. You want to know why I'm doing it? So you're watching somebody do something on the fly. So this sauce is kind of thin. So I want to kind of block it a little bit. So I've got these pieces of cheese here, and I'm going to do some of the homemade seitan.
Michelle said it does look like a vodka sauce.
It does. It looks like vodka. Oh my God, Michelle, wouldn't that be amazing? I looked over like where you were typing as if I was going to see you, Michelle. That would be so good with pasta. I might have to do that. And then we have some of those mushrooms, right? I think you gave me some mushrooms over here.
Let's see. What's the personal pizza in? What kind of pan is that?
Oh, you know what? I got it to go in my air fryer. So it's like it's one of those accessories from like Philips or Go Eyes or something. But it's the perfect size for a personal pizza. I mean, I guess it could serve 2, but let's be clear, it's not going to serve 2.
Wheat flour. We have made wheat crust in the past, but I usually just go old school whenever we're making pizza dough. To JL's point, this remaining dough that I've got here, I'm gonna little bit of bench flour. I'm just gonna make it again something I can handle.
This is so pretty.
It's pink.
It is. I'm making a pink pizza. You have no idea how happy I am right now.
So a little bit of bench flour, make this handleable. It's a ball. Here's a baggie. In it goes. Get the air out. And it's in the freezer. That's it.
I can't stop scooping this. It's ridiculous. I just made a pink pizza and I'm going to put it in the oven right now. It is the most ridiculous thing ever and I am in love with it. Okay. Woo! God, that pizza smells good. I'm going to put it down there and then we can move it. We'll redo this. Okay, so you guys, we're kind of at
we got a handful
a break.
Minutes.
So round cake pan would work for personalized pizza. Absolutely, yeah. I'm going to move this around so I can do it. So now we are able to concentrate on you for a bit instead of paying attention to this. Somebody asks freezer storage Ziploc.
Yep.
Yeah. And also, I don't know if you guys, I recently moved this. Let's see if I can find it. there's a company for those of you who are trying to use a little less plastic or reduce your footprint. There's a company called 𝐨𝐧𝐥𝐢𝐧𝐞. This is a silicone reusable bag. What?
You should copyright the pink pizza.
I know, right? I just should start a book right away. So anyway, this is silicone. It's got this really great sturdy zipper up here. So you can throw this in the freezer and it's, oh, I see Laura's, is that Laura's key cat? Oh my gosh, so cute. Just so you know, the reason you're not hearing my dog bark, especially with all these appliances, Harry usually barks because we gave him a peanut butter stuffed frozen treat and he's in the bedroom. So dude is probably knocking his head up against a wall trying to get frozen peanut butter out of his toy. Anyway, so these are really great. And this is a perfect for an individual size pizza dough. This is perfect for that. So
that does re-zip, right?
Yeah, it re-zips. Yeah, so that's really great. Would you consider baking personal pizza in the air fryer? Heck yes, I would. So that's why I had that pizza pan. So for those of you who do have an air fryer, usually what you want to do, we're paying attention to time, right? I'm going to do 10 minutes for my personal pizza, is if you see a recipe for the oven, traditional baking, and you want to air fry it, usually what you do is you reduce the temperature by 30 degrees and you can cut the cooking time in half. So right now I just put a small pizza in on a very hot oven. So this could be done as much as like 6 or 7 minutes, but let's just pretend for a minute. This is for our friends who are like, wait, why 500? Let's pretend you saw a traditional recipe for pizza that said 375 degrees for 25 minutes. If I were going to make that in the air fryer, I would bring it down to about 325, 330, and then I would bake it for probably 12 minutes. And so that's sort of the formula that you use.
Question on cooking time, about 15 minutes, but you know, oven temperatures vary. We actually have a hanging thermometer in our oven. It's pretty common that right away when the oven goes off and says, hey, I'm at temperature, it's not. It takes an extra 10 minutes or so, but ideally 15 minutes, sometimes we're pretty close, but 15 to 20 minutes-ish.
Okay, Liz just asked something. Liz, I'm going to try this. I'm kind of new to Zoom, and all I can say is I'm really thankful that right now we didn't get any private parts pictures from anybody Zoom bombing us from the trolls. But so far, so good. But Liz, I believe, is ready to show us her finished pizza. So Liz, I'm going to try to see if I can, where do I go? Liz. I want to try to unmute you. I'm going to look for you right now. Liz. Okay, I'm unmuting you, Liz. So you should be able to talk. And when you talk, you should come up in the middle of this and be on camera if you have unmuted your camera. Are you with me, Liz?
Yeah. Hi. Okay. It's not exactly finished yet, but it's in the oven. Let me show you what it looks like. Oh, do I turn this around somehow?
Yeah, I think you can flip it.
Well, how about, can you see it?
Yeah. Ooh, looks great.
It's not quite finished.
Okay, good job, Liz. Thank you.
I don't like pizza sauce, so I just put olive oil and garlic.
Sounds good. Thanks, Liz.
Yeah.
For sharing. Okay, so how's it going, Dave?
2 more minutes.
About 2 more minutes, so we can take some more questions. Oh, thanks for sharing that link. Michelle sent a link. I'm assuming it's to the 𝐨𝐧𝐥𝐢𝐧𝐞. And let's see. So while we're waiting, and I don't see any questions coming through, the next couple classes coming up, I just want to say, and I think she might be here, and I'm not going to call anybody out to embarrass them, but so last week I started this series, and I'm going to put some links in the chat before we close, and you guys click the links and then just bookmark them, but we'll also have them on the webpage. But last week, 300 people showed up for my class, and I only had room for 100, and I felt horrible. And so far today, I think at one point we got to 130 or 140. And I'm not teaching cooking classes right now, you guys. So my vegan business has been, I don't have my vegan business right now because of what's happening. So I was having a dilemma, like I didn't want to take on the added expense of having a bigger Zoom room. And I had asked, just online if people would be willing to help out. And some very generous people here, some of them are here taking the class today, did help out, which is why I was able to have the Zoom room up to 500 people now. So, so anyway, for those of you who couldn't get last week, I'm really, really sorry, but the video is on YouTube, it is on my Facebook, and it is on my website, 𝐨𝐧𝐥𝐢𝐧𝐞. And we'll be putting this video up as well. And so last week's class was pantry cooking, so basics of pantry cooking. And then next week I'm doing pressure cooking and instant pot basics. And then the week after that, I'm doing air fryer basics. So I'm going to keep doing a class every Sunday at 1 o'clock Mountain Time until we are all free to leave our home and resume our life. But we do this because not only we want to share the love of vegan cooking, but we miss people too, and we're very social creatures. And so you've given us an opportunity to be with 100 folks today. So we're really happy about that. But Dave's all over here, all smug right now, because you're about to see his pizza. He like does a dance usually when he succeeds.
No,
so
I do not dance. I don't even slow dance well. It's true. So this was in the oven for about 18 minutes. And you can see there's some nice burn going around the edge where the cheese was up. It's nice and bubbly. Gotta let it sit. Just kind of like anything else. If I took this out of the pan right now and tried to cut it, it would just become a gooey mess.
I need to move my pan up.
Oh, yeah. So it's going to sit for 3 to 5 minutes. And then I'll... and then we'll pull out of the pan. You can see what the sides look like.
Yeah, and we're doing well. We're like about 2 minutes into the time we're supposed to close. We want to honor people's schedules, but I'd also like you to see what a slice of this looks like. So I'm going to continue to take questions if we have them.
I do not do curbside pickup.
That's hilarious.
I do not. Cottage industry, maybe later.
But speaking of that, you know what? If you're trying to do a little culinary vegan activism right now while you are stuck at home, I really hope that you're checking in with your local restaurants, whether they're vegan or plant-based, or if they're places that you've always gone because they've always made vegan options for you, and find out how you can support them right now. My little sweet vegan cooking academy is not operating, but that's nothing compared to people whose livelihoods are their restaurants and they've had to lay their staff off, and they might not make it through this because they don't know how long they're going to be closed. So as much as we like to empower you to cook at home, which we do most of the time, we have a list, and every week we order in from 2 places, and we order in from a couple breweries, whatever, it's Colorado, this is what we do here. And so, because we want to try to support as much as possible. So obviously we want you to cook at home and cook yummy vegan food, but also please think about some of your favorite restaurants and how you might be able to support them right now. Oh, someone said, please support food pantries right now. And especially because a lot of food pantries aren't vegan. And if you are, make sure that we're getting really good, yummy, plant-based and vegan foods to the food pantry too, because we want everyone to have options. Oh, that crustiness sounds so good, you guys. How many people, I'm just curious, if you're still with me, I still see we have over 100 people. Just let us know, are you trying the Detroit style at home right now, or are you just going traditional? If you're trying Detroit style, say so in the comments so we can get an idea. Are you excited? He's excited. Oh yeah. Here, hold that up there.
So just pulled it out, and it's got a nice, that's a better shot. Nice burn on the side. Nice burnt cheese. Oh yeah, it's gonna be good.
Okay, good.
That's gonna be good.
People are saying, yeah, once it rises. I know, am I right? I mean, we tried to like stretch this out, so hopefully you might be close. Although I'm curious, someone asked, let me share some links really quick. I think someone asked, oh, that's the sweetest thing. Someone asked if everyone put in $1. Yeah, I'm actually just gonna give you a link now. I'm not too proud because we need some help too. We're trying to, do this. So I'm going to share the link right now, and you can just put in an amount of any kind. You don't have to use PayPal if you don't have it. Just do the credit card option. So let me do this, and tips here. So we're calling it Tips, and I just shared a link for you. A couple other links I wanted to let you guys know about. I have a 3-month real world vegan meal plan that's usually $12. It's got over 80 recipes. It's hundreds of pages long. And we marked it down to $6 as soon as this happened because we knew people were going to need some help cooking. So I'm sending you the link right now. And let's see what else. I'm going to put my link for upcoming classes, which is where you can also see last week's video for the pantry class. So there are some links there. And are you going to cut into it so we can take a bite?
I wanted to see the bottom.
Oh yeah, good idea.
So it's, hopefully you can kind of see that. It's
Ooh,
not quite as
nice.
dark as I would have liked, but that's because I'm using a lasagna pan that goes back to, a cast iron skillet. I'll bet you that would be really dark and crusted and amazing. But it's really dark golden brown here.
Feed me.
What?
Feed me. Oh, well, let's check on my little pizza.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so weird. Does the crust look done? I can't tell from all that amazing homemade cheese that's melting and getting brown. No, a little bit more. All right, well, let's have some of that pizza. Okay, let's take some. Oh, someone just said, bravo, Dave. Thank you, Ethan. Thanks, Michelle. You guys, there's been so much fun. And so remember, go to _goesvegan.com, and the next new blog post will be, we'll have the YouTube video. If you want to recheck that, we'll have a recipe for the dough. We'll put down some of the things that we've done here and this weird sauce, which I'm going to definitely use on pasta later this week. And I'll take a picture of my weird pizza and I'll let you, because you might as well see it. It looks crazy. And you know what? I'm going to eat the heck out of that. So any last questions before we go? I'm seeing so many thank yous and we want to thank you. I hope you come back next week. Even if you don't have a pressure cooker or an Instant Pot, come to the class because it might be the thing that talks you into using one. And then the week after that is air fryer. And then on my Facebook page, I asked people what other topics they wanted. And someone asked about umami, which is my favorite thing to talk about. One of my tattoos is for umami. So the third class, the one after the air fryer, is going to be how to add vegan umami to your cooking, because it's the secret ingredient. If you're cooking for non-veg people in your house, when you add umami to your cooking, they're going to want to eat it even more. So with that, I don't see, someone wanted the tip link, which is very sweet. I'll try one more time. And you can let me know if you got it. Dave, any parting words of wisdom?
No. I got nothing.
I don't know how to make this work. So I'm going to try that again. I think we just had that to pull out the pizza for a lookie. Okay, fair enough. You might as well see it. It looks really, really weird. Show us a slice. Yeah, they want to see a slice of this pizza. Me too. I want to eat it.
Yeah, the crust is done.
Oh, look at that. Look at that crust and look at that cheese. And it's still pink, winning. Okay, so let's cut this open. They want to see a piece and then we'll call it a day. You guys have been really, really awesome. I've loved your questions. Pink is so me, Joanne. You do know me, don't you? And we'll do a little bon appetit. Ooh. So here it is. And look at all that cheese on the side. So I'm going in. Oh my God. It's so good. I wish you were here right now. I actually really wish all of you were here right now. I'm an extrovert and I'm dying with this. Okay, that was really awful. I'm not dying. I'm not sick. I'm lucky. I'm healthy. I miss people very, very much. So Dave, good job.
First time caller, long time listener. Glad to be here.
Thanks for being here, you guys. I don't see any final questions. So yes, see you tomorrow. Oh, Corey. Oh my gosh, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, you guys, you've been wonderful. Thank you so much. We're about to close this down and hopefully we see you next week and engage with us on social media. Take pictures of this. Hashtag vegan pizza by Dave. And actually, I'm going to give you one more link. If you want to join my Facebook group, You can come in and also show us the pictures there. Let me put this here. You know, I'm losing some folks. And we're going to bring this to a close. You all are wonderful. For those of you, you know who you are, who helped give me the resources to build up the platform this week so that we can have more than 100 people. I am so grateful for you because you know, many of you know me very well and know that I have one mission in life, and that is to make vegan cooking so easy that everyone will want to do it, because when that happens, we will live in a just world in which no beings are harmed. So thank you for being a part of this. I adore you all.
Michelle wants to
appreciate your support. And someone wants to see the pizza one more time. They're like, shut up, you little crazy animal activist, and just let us see the pizza. Okay, we got you. So this crazy little animal activist is about to go have some lunch and possibly a beer from a local brewery. You guys are awesome. Bye.